Was it Jim Bowden at The Athletic that had these bold predictions? And one of them was Jackson Merrill is going to appear in the big leagues at like the halfway point or at some point in 2024, right? One of the top prospects in the organization, the infielder. It might give him some time in the outfield. One of the top prospects in all of baseball. And this bold take was, he's going to appear at some point, maybe by the halfway point. Did he also say that Ethan Salas would appear at some point in 2024? Or was that a bold take at The Athletic that Salas would appear or not?
So Jim Bowden from The Athletic, yeah, he has Ethan Salas here that could be at the big league level. Also, I know Alden Gonzalez wrote another article as well talking about Jackson Merrill. Potentially, like his bold take was that he's going to make the opening day roster for the Padres.
Oh, opening day
roster. And that we're going to see Jackson Merrill in 2024 at some point. Yeah, I think with everything that we've talked about and said and we've heard, like it just, to me, seeing those two players up anytime in 2024, both of them at the same time would be kind of a scary proposition. If we saw Jackson Merrill at some point in this season, later half of the season, I think that would be okay. But any time during the season, if we see Ethan Salas, the big league club, wearing a Padres uniform, that to me is like a red flag. Nope.
But Merrill, you feel the same way about Merrill, or you're saying both of them? Do you feel the same way about Merrill at any point appearing in 2024, appearing in the big leagues? If Jackson Merrill appears in the big leagues July 1st, he's promoted, is primarily a starter. You're not promoting him to sit on the bench, and he finishes the season with the Padres. Is that a red flag? Jackson Merrill making his big league debut in 2024? If he starts the year in Double-A, AAA, tears the cover off the baseball, all the reports are good. How old would he be? 21? I mean, couldn't you see a scenario where he's up in the second half of the year?
I could see a scenario, and that scenario involves other players on the team getting injured.
Does it?
To me, where's he going to play if you have everybody in your infield healthy?
Well, yeah, it's one thing to be healthy. It's another thing to be effective. I mean, you had a Jake Cronenworth situation where he was wildly inconsistent. I get it. He's making money. Or you had Xander Bogaerts, who for 4 months wasn't performing. I mean, at some point, you may have to get creative and DH someone to give them opportunities. But I mean, Jackson Merrill is turning 21 in April and was a first-round pick in 2021. I'm not opposed to the idea that this guy hits in 2024 and is up. I am opposed to Ethan Salas. Mm-hmm. So let's hear from Kyle Glaser, formerly Baseball America, a great baseball writer, San Diegan. He was with Coach earlier today talking about Ethan Salas. Take a listen.
Yeah, both are tremendously talented and very, very mature for their ages in terms of how they play on the field. Again, they're both very, very composed. Merrill's very instinctually and fundamentally sound at shortstop well beyond his years. So I think you could definitely see a scenario where these guys do break into the major leagues here at, a young age, 20, 21 years old. At the same time, they both have partial seasons at Double-A on their ledger, I should say. And we've seen the Padres before rush guys to the detriment of both the player and the team. It does make sense to start these guys possibly back in Double-A, certainly Triple-A, no higher than that. Let them get a half season there and then bring them up if they prove they're ready. At the end of the day, these are two talented kids. You don't want to short circuit their development just because you need someone to fill a hole for you on a team that has a lot of holes right now. I think the best thing for the Padres, both short-term and long-term, is to let these kids develop. And maybe that means they come up sometime around the All-Star break. Any sooner than that would be a little bit concerning.
Okay, there was then a follow-up. I think when he said any sooner than the All-Star break, he was talking about Merrill and Snelling. Because then there was a follow-up where he said if Salas appears in the big leagues in 2024, and I'm paraphrasing, it would be a red flag. Because, I mean, he's 17 years of age. Where Merrill, again, he's 21. That's a huge difference. I mean, between 17 and 21 is a huge difference. Plus the position. I mean, Salas is a catcher. So, yeah, I don't see it. I mean, I don't know what the right word would be. I don't know if it'd be foolish, but I'd be very surprised if Salas appeared in 2024.
I would be too. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't. I just don't see why you would do that.
Right.
Why would you rush this guy through your system if you don't have to? Like why?
Yeah, you don't have. It's a good point. You have a catcher,
and I know that Ethan Salas is being talked about like he's the next like Pudge Rodriguez, Buster Posey / Johnny Bench
Type.
had a baby, and it's
Right,
Ethan
Yogi
Salas.
Berra.
Yeah, like I that's great. But can we let the kid like develop? Can we let him go through some struggles and overcome them and perform instead of throwing him in the big leagues because he had a nice month in the minors? Like, why are we talking continuously about Ethan Salas making the big league roster in 2024?
I'll tell you why. Because people like backup quarterbacks and people like prospects. And that's exactly why. And also when you're not the top dog, if you're coming off a 100-win season, nobody cares about prospects. They care about what's going on field at the big league level. When you're coming off an 80-win season or an 82-win season, everyone wants to know what's next. And you're also in an offseason where you've traded away Juan Soto. So it's like, what's on the other side? What's behind door number 2? It's like when you're a bad team and you draft a quarterback. When Alex Smith was playing Kansas City, people were talking about Patrick Mahomes. Now, it doesn't always work like that. You don't always have Patrick Mahomes available on the bench. It doesn't always work like that. But that's what it feels like to me. It's like, man, they only won 82 games last year, and the offseason hasn't been that exciting. So, man, I can't wait to see Jackson Merrill and Ethan Salas. That's pretty cool.
No, I get it. It's when your team isn't great, it's always the default of the fans to go right to who's our top prospect and when can we see him.
Right.
I understand that.
Yep.
But this is like an outlier, John, and you know it.
Yeah, I agree.
This is a massive outlier. And Ethan Salas, hopefully he turns out to be what everybody says he's going to be in that organization and around baseball. And you would love that if you're a Padres fan, and the Padres especially. But you got to go through the right process first. It's about the process. And to rush him through just to say, look at this kid, he's the fastest ever to make it to the big leagues.
Yep.
And
First
oh my
catcher
gosh,
to appear
first
as
catcher
an 18-year-old
and all.
since. Yep.
No.
Yep.
It should not be about that. And maybe sometimes with this organization, I'm not saying that they want it to be about that, but they sure like promoting it, stuff like that.
Well, my argument against it too, Jim, is some of the stuff we talked about yesterday with Pham and Profar. I'm saying right now, Tommy Pham is not the missing piece. So if Tommy Pham, a veteran accomplished major league outfielder, isn't the missing piece, and they've got multiple holes, and I'm not really reaching for Pham, I would take Pham, but I don't think I'm reaching for him. If Pham, a 35-year-old who appeared in the World Series last year, I'm telling you, is not the missing piece, then how is Ethan Salas? There is no world where an 18-year-old is going to come up and set the world on fire in the second half of the year, in my opinion. Now, you never know in terms of a clubhouse dynamic. There are countless examples of rookies coming up or breaking squads and overperforming their minor league numbers or putting a jolt into a club. That's absolutely possible. But like this club is not going to be like, it's the one piece away. If we just had a catcher, that's not who this club is. No. In fact, Luis Campusano has been waiting for this moment. Now, if he doesn't stay healthy, by the way, if he doesn't stay healthy, I'm not going to Ethan Salas. I'm signing a veteran catcher. This is my first order of business. If Luis Campusano wasn't healthy, or I'm turning elsewhere before I'm turning to Ethan Salas.
I'm Ethan Salas. Honestly, I would put him in a bubble.
Literally.
And I wouldn't even consider him no matter what happens.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if Campusano, Higgy, Sullivan, whoever else they have in their system that could be a catcher gets hurt. I'm not putting Ethan Salas in that position. I'm just not. Like,
okay.
No matter what, Ethan Salas is not touching the big leagues this year.
Okay, there was more from Kyle Glazer. Thank you, Brent, for finding this. This is when he basically highlights the fact of what we're talking about getting Salas to the big leagues in 2024. Would that be a mistake or not? Here's Kyle Glazer.
Yeah, look, he's tremendously poised for his age. I saw a lot of him like Elsinore. You see the swing, you see the way he controlled at bats in the strike zone, defensively, how he received, how he handles pitchers. Nothing about this kid looks like a 16, 17-year-old as he was throughout last year. He's a very, very talented player and a very, very mature player. At the same time, because he's the same age as a high school junior, there's a lot of physical development still left. He rarely caught back-to-back days. A lot of games he only caught 6-7 innings and had to come out. So he still needs physical development. I thought moving him from low A Lake Elsinore to high A Fort Wayne was surprising and a little premature. And the move to promote him to Double A was just ill-advised. He was nowhere near ready for that. The best thing for him would be to start this year back at High A, get half to a full season there, and maybe finish the year in Double A. If he's in the majors at any point this year, that would be a red flag that the Padres are really pushing things beyond where they should.
Maybe finish the year in Double A.
Maybe.
Start the year in Advanced A, maybe finish the year in Double-A, and if he reaches the big leagues, red flag.
Yeah.
He somehow got, and he talked about it in the first answer. I mean, he got to Double-A last year, and you're like, what on earth is happening?
Mm-hmm.
He had spent like a week in High A, and now you have this 17-year-old kid in Double-A for like what reason? It goes back to the point we're talking about right now. For what reason? Just to prove people wrong?
This movie that's coming out that everyone wants to see. Like for me, it's Deadpool 3 this year, right? I think that's for me at least. That's a movie that I desperately can't wait to see. Right? But that's not for another 6 months or so.
Deadpool 3?
Deadpool 3.
Okay.
Or whatever movie that comes out. Right? Say there's a movie that was announced. They're like, oh,
Mean Girls.
No, John. I'm talking about movies that aren't released yet.
Oh, okay. I'm looking at movies.
And it's hard to wait. It's really hard to wait. What if like these movie theaters were like, you know what? We're not going to wait because we want to show you like, we want to reward your patience or give you something, and we're just going to release the movie now, and it's not ready, and the CGI sucks, and everything is just like really weird and choppy, but there's like potential there. Ethan Salas is not a finished product yet. Ethan Salas is a blockbuster movie that's still going through all of the CGI phase and all of the reshoots and all of the stuff to make the movie great. Once Ethan Salas makes it to the big league level, you expect him to be a finished product, like a finished movie, where you're not complaining about whatever it would be to complain about an unfinished movie that has horrible CGI and bad, whatever with it. You want to make sure that he is ready to go at the big league level and not rush through your system before he is ready.
Right. Like I don't need to see Alien Romulus. Am I saying that right? On August 16th right now. If they don't have aliens in it, or if like they're just gonna have like some like step-in actor for the aliens. I'm looking at another by the way, Beetlejuice.
They just announced that today. Beetlejuice 2. Yeah.
I'm just looking at movies that are coming out.
Yeah, it's like, hey, Ethan Salas is like a movie poster. Guess what? Ethan Salas coming in 2026.
Right. That's exactly right.
And yeah, you have to wait a little while. It sucks. Waiting's not the most fun thing in the world. Trust me, I'm not patient. Right. I hate waiting for things.
Yeah, I get you.
But you want it to be a finished product. You don't want it to be rushed just to be rushed.
Yeah, like, and here's the deal. Like I said earlier, it's like if this is a team coming off a National League Championship Series like 2 years ago, you're not talking about Ethan Salas and who's the kid? Leo DeVries.
Yeah.
You're not. I mean, you know that they're there, and it's like open when ready type situation. But all you're talking about is what do they need to do to put their team in a position to get further than the NLCS. It's all that matters. Nobody would care at all about what's going on in the system. You know that you have a system and it could benefit you at some point. But it's not 2022 anymore. And last year was very disappointing, and people want to grasp onto something. You've lost your owner. You've traded away arguably your best player. You've cut spending. You've made no real moves of significance that any just regular Joe would care about, that just shows up at Petco Park on a Friday night. You think people around San Diego are really talking about Yuki Matsui every day? I mean, this is the fringes of the roster. So because of that, we're trying to grasp onto something. And I think that's why people are like, well, could Jackson Merrill make the club out of spring training?
It's another bold take by ESPN saying that Jackson Merrill can make the big league club out of spring training. Again, another player who you're excited to see, but you're still probably going to have to wait a little while. At least that's what I think they should do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm afraid that they won't wait, and the Padres will be too anxious, and they want to see this movie right now, and they just want to release it.
Right.
They're like, hey, here's Jackson Merrill. It's like, oh, but it's not a finished product yet. Like, why is the dialogue all messed up? Why is the CGI all messed up? You need to make sure these guys are developed. And by the way, if you don't have a spot for Jackson Merrill on this roster, which you really don't right now,
sure,
why have him on it?
Right, because he needs to play. This guy needs to be developed. You're not putting this guy on the bench.
No.
Like, and we talked about this before. Tatis in the minor leagues before getting promoted as a 19-year-old had roughly, I'm looking it up, roughly 1,100 at-bats, okay?
At one point in Tatis's career,
he had more minor league at-bats than major league at-bats.
Right.
But Jackson Merrill has 800 at-bats. He's got 300 plus fewer at-bats in the minor leagues than Fernando Tatis Jr., generational, when Tatis came up. So you're telling me Merrill with less seasoning is going to reach that point now? No, let him be seasoned. He had a 770 OPS last year. It's fine. That was in single A and double A.
Yeah.
He had a 770. You would take that in the major leagues for a rookie. But I'm saying, like, this isn't a guy that's hitting 40 home runs and hitting 400 and getting on base 3 times a game.
And you know what we're going to see this spring? And I'm already preparing myself for it. Jackson Merrill's going to have some really nice moments.
Right. Of course he will.
He's going to go into a game and go 3 for 4 and make a great defensive play at shortstop.
Absolutely.
Or whatever. And then everybody after that game will be talking about Jackson Merrill should be on the opening day roster.
Right.
No. No, he shouldn't be. Like you said there, John, you need more time. You need, if you have less at bats than Fernando Tatis Jr. in your minor league career and you had a 770 OPS last year in the minors, you need more time.
It's like, I'll leave you with this, and then we can get to the other side where we're going to hear from Cam Newton, another player that says Brock Purdy sucks. Add him to the list. I'll leave you with this. Like, everyone out of college, like if you're like me or you, maybe you wanted to be a sports talk host right out of college, or I wanted to be like a play-by-play guy, like right out of college. You want to be the voice of the Padres as a 22-year-old. You want to be a sports talk host in a big city as a 22-year-old. You're not ready. You're going to be off the air. I mean, if you just step on the air day one out of college, even if it's your hopes and dreams and you prepared for it and you dreamed about it, you're not ready.
Yeah.
You need seasoning. And that's that's been proven out in baseball so often.
Mm-hmm.
When you rush, you actually put a player back as opposed to doing it the way it should be properly done.
Our former program director, he would say, for people to be on air, to really start to get it, you need at least like 1,000 hours of airtime.
Yeah. I remember reading a book. It takes about 5 years to get comfortable on air.
Yeah.
Like a play-by-play. And honestly, with the benefit of hindsight, I would have told you between 5 and 10. It takes time. It's the 10,000 hours theory. You only get better by doing.
Now, some people might say, well, you can get better by learning on the job.
True.
But it's a different animal for a Major League Baseball player. Because once Jackson Merrill goes 1 for, 35, like he has a slump of that long.
Yeah, then what?
And then he's not playing every day, and he's playing every other day, or then he plays once a week, and then he starts just getting a pinch hit at bat here and there, and they send him down to the minors, and they bring him back up. And it just becomes, once Merrill and Salas get called up to the big leagues, whenever that is, guess what?
You want him to stick.
You want them to stay. You don't want to be yo-yoing them, and you don't want them to be sitting on the bench, 5 days a week or getting inconsistent at bats. Once they're up, wherever they're put, you want them to be an everyday guy.